Hey there, Naswek with Lockpickers United. Today I'll be showing you how to completely disassemble and reassemble a padlock. We'll be using this American Series 1100 for demonstration, but the process is pretty similar for many locks from a wide range of manufacturers. And then while the lock is open, I'm going to go ahead and install this anti-bypass wafer as well. First you must remove the core. Just loosen the security screw. Out comes the security nut and the trap door and our core. You can drop the screw. So we look inside and we see the actuator. It's a three-piece assembly. This pie-shaped cutout is on the main body of the actuator, and then around it is this washer. It has this little tab here that acts as a detent that stops the core from over-rotating backwards, and then you can see that dark horizontal line there is just the tip of the spring peeking out. So now we need to pull this out. This is what's holding back the ball bearings. So for this lock and many others, once you have the core out, you just simply depress the shackle and all of the guts will fall nicely out onto the table. Except it never ever works for American locks. In fact, the service manual has a section just for this that says grab it with pliers and pull on it. So that's what we're going to do. In order for this to work, it needs to be unlocked. So you can either put your core back in and turn the key, or you may have noticed that followers have this half moon that matches the tailpiece of the core, and that'll engage the actuator as well, so you can unlock it like that. So now that it's unlocked, we can grab it with our needle nose pliers. Word of caution here, we're going to grab it on this pie-shaped piece. We're going to grab here, we're going to grab here. We're not going to grab this tab, we're not going to grab the spring. Leave this washer alone, because if you bend it up, it'll be a pain. You'll have to bend it back to get the lock to function again. And these can actually be pretty hard to get out sometimes, so I hope I don't struggle too bad. Come on. A little movement. There we go. Okay, so it's part way out. It's not holding the bearings back anymore. One thing to be aware of is I was keeping the shackle partially depressed while I was doing that, and so the shackle spring is compressed. So if I were to let go, this would just go flying out. So you want to slowly let it go. Now also is a good time, if you have a shop towel, to go ahead and lay it down, because these things are notoriously greasy. So out comes the shackle, our shackle spring. We should get one bearing to come out. Oh, gotta work on this a little more. Unfortunately, it's sprung back, so now it's going to be harder to grab without bending up. Wonder if I can turn that a little bit. Nope. You're gonna see me struggle. Maybe I can grab it from underneath. Okay. Actuator came out. A couple of really greasy bearings. They're not coming out because of all the grease. Where is it? Did I lose a part already? Oh no, there it is. It's stuck. Okay, so there are all of our parts. Shackle spring, actuator assembly, 2 ball bearings. To put it back together, first thing you do is you put the shackle spring back in, grab the shackle and get ready. We're going to have to depress it a little bit to line up this little groove on the shackle to allow to give the bearing a place to go. Drop our 2 bearings in, and you can see what I'm going to do is just with a screwdriver. I'm just going to reach in and push those bearings back in their little holes. And then the actuator, we're going to drop it down in the locked position. See the cutouts are at 3 and 9 o'clock. while the bearings are at 1 and 6, 12 and 6. So that's locked. So what I'm going to do is push it down, kind of wiggle and poke and prod a little bit, and then close the shackle. And then everything should just drop in. Okay, it's back together. It's locked. Now it's time for our anti-bypass wafer. So this drops in just like this, orientation straight down. What this does is mates with the tailpiece. So this can still turn the actuator, but it covers up the opening of the keyway, so you can't stick a bypass tool in there. You can either, some people will just put a big old blob of grease on here and then stick it to the core and drop it in, or you can just drop it straight down, poke and turn a little bit until it's in position. Maybe use a little bit of finesse instead of stabbing at it like a caveman. And there we go. We're back together. And if we test it with the key still works. So now we can just close it back up. Trapdoor, security nut. Screw goes back in. Got grease on my fingers, it's a little harder. And then after doing any service on a padlock, always test the key before you close it back up. In fact, test the key on your core before you lock it again if you've been doing any gutting. But this works now. So that's our new American lock with a bypass driver, or anti-bypass wafer installed. Well, what can go wrong? We can see the actuator came apart. And if this happens to you, you're going to have to rewind the spring and put everything back together. So I'll show you how everything fits together and an easy way to do that. So the spring drops in with this straight piece down, sits inside this little groove, keeps it from rotating. And then we have to drop the collar on and then rotate the spring back about 180 degrees. That can be really hard to do just with your fingers, so I found the easiest way I've found to do it is to just use a vise. What we're using the vise to do is hold the spring stationary so we can turn the washer with both hands. So with this seated, we're going to put that right down here so the jaws of the vise hold that in place. And then if you look at this, you can see, as I mentioned before, it's not a full quarter circle. There's a flat right here. That's so you can get the washer back on, because this is a nice tight fit. If you were to try and get it on this way, you'll struggle. You'll never get it on. So you drop the washer underneath the corner, and then that flat just goes nicely by. So then, if you recall, the orientation when this was ready to be installed in a lock is about like this, with the washer flat, except the spring was all the way over here. Now, in order to wind it back, you want it cocked slightly off a little bit, hook it under this tab, and then you want it off, not seated flush, because this metal tab, that's a detent that is purposely made to not fit by this quarter circle, so there's not enough room to turn if it's seated. But then you just rotate it until this tab clears, and then you can drop everything in. And our spring is wound, and the actuator is ready to be reinstalled. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and happy picking.